Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What is going on, Lock Shoppers? The weekend is just about here. Maybe the best weekend of the entire season. 4 games, the remaining 8 teams in the National Football League, and we are going to break it down on the Lock Shop, get you our best bets, and get ready for 12-plus hours of football paradise as we do get closer to the end of the season, which I don't want to think about. But Dusty's going to jump on. He's taking care of a few things at on the top floor of EST headquarters. So myself, Huss, and P. Greggy, and this could get nasty right off the bat. We kind of needed a mediator to be here because you see Bill, you see the Bills hat on Pat. You can see the kingdom right here. We are ready to go. Pat, how are you? How are you feeling heading into the weekend?
You know, Huss, buddy, and there's only a couple of days that I can call you buddy because come Sunday, we are mortal enemies. I'm excited. I'm excited for the opportunity. Hey, this is what the Bills have wanted for how many years? Since the 13 seconds. Brandon Beane said, this is what we need to do. We want to get these guys back on our home turf. Well, you've got the opportunity now. I don't know if there's ever going to be a bigger opportunity than right now. You know, getting the Chiefs on what some are saying is a down year. No Joe Burrow. This is the year to do it. If it doesn't happen, it might not ever happen. But I'm not a dummy. I'm not an idiot. I'm not one of these folks that says, yes, it is a down year. Maybe on paper it was a down year, but it's Patrick freaking Mahomes, man. When the lights are shining the brightest, that's when he comes to play. It's his first ever road playoff game.
It's so crazy.
That just goes to show you how good he's been, how good the Chiefs have been. I respect the opponent. There's no doubt about this. Do I hate the Chiefs? They've given me nightmares over the years. Absolutely. But I still respect this team. I'm not going to go into this and say, oh, this is a different year. I am a little bit cautious, but I'm still feeling pretty good about the opportunity that the Buffalo Bills have here.
All right, Lock Shoppers, don't worry. Dusty will be back. There's no way we'd be able to get through an entire show of just the two of us going at it on the Chiefs. And
No
Bills.
way. No way.
Pat Maroon's bib says, Dusty is busy setting up his lion's shrine and praying those indoor cats don't lay a lawn bomb. Dusty's going to be here in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so, and then we'll sort of get into the picks. Good to see so many of you out here. Duck Dad's leaving Duck Dad HQ to go to EST HQ and get a Mr. Mike's GC to smash a burger with a pickle in and out for lunch. Hope to hear some winners on air. Duck Dad, hang tight. We'll miss you in the chat, but keep it locked on the stream. See Mark A. Chad's in the house. Chad's asking about the Bills' weather. We'll check that in just a minute. In fact, Pat, why don't you pull that up right now? Let's get some weather reports for Sunday. And Richard Croft, VR's in there. Great to see all you guys there. And we'll look forward to, in a minute, maybe when Dusty comes in, we start getting to our picks. We'll get your favorite pick for the spread games on the week. Let's get to Coolbet right now and get the latest for these lines. And as I say, we'll actually get into making our picks when Dusty shows up. But nothing has really changed over the last couple days. The Ravens are still 9.5-point favorites. The Niners are 9.5-point favorites over the Packers. Detroit is 6.5-point favorites over the Bucks. And the Bills are 2.5-point favorites, although right now, laying minus 119, Chiefs plus money at plus 2.5. And I will say has been one change, because the number I've been looking at all weekend, and what I'm most concerned of, is the Chiefs money line. Chiefs money line was plus 121, but it's actually now plus 125. Should have waited to put the mortgage on it until today. I have to admit, I'm a little surprised about that. I mean, I didn't think, and listen, we're not going to get any massive movements, I think, on any of these lines. These games are so significant. People are on them so early that a lot of the late week movement that you would get on a normal NFL weekend happens right off the bat when people are coming in, jumping on their bets right now. But Pat, I will say this. I spent last night going over the other games, the other 3 games, all with bigger spreads, listening to all sorts of takes, all sorts of, kind of intel. And I have to say, these are some of the toughest picks to make because, well, I think we all agree that the favorites should be the favorites, and they should probably be significant favorites. They're that way for a reason. But every one of these underdogs coming off big wins last week, and again, sure, there might be some recency bias involved, all gave bettors plenty of reasons to believe that they can hang in these games against, teams that are laying big points at home.
It's so difficult, Huss. Like when you look at these lines, and it's so bizarre seeing these big numbers. Houston getting 9.5. The Packers getting 9.5. Mind you, both teams on the road. And yes, I do think a bit of recency bias goes in there because we didn't see the Ravens. We didn't see the 49ers. We got to keep in mind, these are 2 damn good football teams. They are probably the 2 best teams in the NFL from start to finish. Sure, they had a couple of down spots here and there, but overall, there's a reason why they have the first seed. But there are things that just lead me to believe that each of these teams should be able to keep it inside the number. It is really difficult for us. Like, I would be surprised if both those games are blowouts. I really would. But are both teams going to cover the spread? It's almost like there's going to be one of those teams that are going to cover. Who is it going to be? And that's our job here on the Lock Shop to figure out if one of those teams are going to be able to cover the spread or not.
I see Mark in chat going, Patty G's tease. This is, at least for those other 3 games, it could be teaser city. Like when you're putting it out, do you do a 7-point tease, 6-point tease? What's the usual number?
It's usually it's anywhere between a 6, 6.5, or 7. It all depends. Sometimes I'll move it a little bit here and there. If it, again, if it's a half number, whole number, that goes into it as well. But when I saw these lines come out, that's the first thing that came to mind. Boy, oh boy, is a tease going to be nice on this one. I'm really looking forward to putting together a tease. And yes, Mark, yes, Lock Shoppers, there will be a Patty G's tease. We'll probably drop later today or first thing tomorrow morning. Quickly, while we're on Lock Shoppers, while we're on the nasty chat, I know there are some people waiting the hockey hall. Don't want to get off too topic here, but this is the first time we had a non-Lock Shopper, non-WS tier, or a non-ES tier win. And I kid you not, this person placed 1 ticket, 1 hockey hall ticket. And I know all the folks, this is going to trigger everyone in the chat, but this goes to just show you folks, you don't have to play a bunch of tickets. All that it takes is 1. The name's escaping me. He lives out on the East Coast in Nova Scotia. So we got him a prize pack heading out to him. So if you haven't done the hockey hall yet, I know we're focused on football here today, but I know Jake wanted me to remind the folks there that we didn't forget about you guys. We just didn't announce it on the show because unfortunately the Blue Noser who won is not a friend of the program. Although we could get him on, on.
Now that he's a hockey hall winner, maybe we should.
We got to get him in the chat.
Should get him into it. Hey, and you know what? Just quickly off of football for a minute, because that's going to dominate the rest of the program. We mentioned this yesterday, but for folks that missed, big UFC card coming up in TO on Saturday night. Is that at the like the Leafs rink, Scotiabank? Arena?
Yeah, Scotiabank Arena. It's pretty solid card. I know a lot of folks are kind of upset, or at least hardcore UFC folks were upset that it was so close to UFC 300 because that's the card that
Yeah.
Dana White is really loading up. But still, very good card. A lot of a young up and coming talent in the UFC, and I think their co-main events are bangers. But yeah, we do have
Press
a.
conferences were something else.
Oh, were they ever, Huss? So we'll stay away from that. But yes, if you're looking for some UFC action this weekend, if you're not even really a UFC bettor, I think this will be fun. I think it's going to be a fun card. I'm looking forward to. I tend to try to watch as many of the pay-per-views as possible. But we do have a promotion. Bet $25 on any of the bets this weekend, and you will receive a free bet for the upcoming week, and you can use it anywhere on the sports book. So if you're not really a big UFC fan, if you don't think you're going to be betting on fight night next week, no problem at all. You can take your $25 free bet that you bet on. Let's say it's the main card, or you want to bet on Mike Mallet, or you want to bet on one of the other Canadians, Brad Katana, the pride of Winnipeg,
Yes,
Manitoba.
That's who I used my bet and get on.
And as you should. And just wait, be patient. Monday morning, once the bet is resulted, Monday, you will get your $25. And hey, then you can go place that on NHL. You can place it on NBA. You can wait till the weekend and place that on the conference championship. So take a look there. I know we've got some tweets out, but if you go hit the promotions tab, you can find out more there. 25-25. That's a great bet. That's a great deal. And I know you folks in the nasty chat, I know Huss, you've been really getting in on the gridiron bet as well. So
Every week.
if you're already doing the promotions, why not get out of your comfort zone, bet on a Canadian, and have some late night watching, because this will be after the football. The football should be over at that point when some of these main events are going on. Sprinkle a little bit on a Canadian and then get a free bet for next week's action.
Are you guys going? I hear tickets are pretty juicy. What the get-in price is like $500?
Yeah, it's 500 just to get inside the building. You're looking at $1,000 if you want your feet on the floor, sitting beside the Nelk Boys or whatever other celebrities are going to be there. I'm sure there will be a decent amount of Canadian celebrities on hand. I'm interested to see that, but yeah, a little bit pricey. And full disclosure too, I've got a little bit of a family function going on Saturday, so if that wasn't going on, I think I would probably try to scrounge up a couple of pennies and head over to Scotiabank Arena to see the fellas scrap, and ladies scrap, in the octagon.
I hope you told your lovely fiance and both families that Sunday dinner is canceled on Sunday, because 6:30
they know.
Eastern, 5:30 Central. There's a big game to get to. All right, you know what? Just Dusty's going to be here in 1 second. I should mention that it is a quieter night in the National Hockey League. There's 4 games. The Wings, coming off that OT win over the Panthers in Florida, move up the coast to Carolina. They're a plus 175 underdog against the Canes, who are minus 209. Carolina had that rough road trip about a month ago. They're back, though, playing quite well. Jersey, coming off that loss to Montreal, is a minus 150 favorite in Columbus against the Blue Jackets. The Panthers, who I just mentioned, lost their last game out in OT to the Red Wings. They're at home, taking on the Minnesota Wild. Wild plus 165. Wild lost yesterday to Tampa. And the play of the day from yours truly, now 7-1 in 2024. And my lone loss was taking a pretty juicy underdog, Pat. The Sharks money line, and they lost in a shootout. So I'm going to hopefully finish a 4-1 week with a winner a little later on. Minus 196 is out of my... I'd never pick anything beyond about 135. I guess I did do the historic women's hockey pick, which was minus 139.
Yes, you did.
But anyways, Islanders Blackhawks today as well. New York minus 233 in Chicago plus 195. But back to the NFL, and there was a question about the weather in Buffalo for the game on Sunday. It looks like it's going to be partly cloudy, -4 Celsius. So, I mean, not too cold, nothing even remotely close to what we had in Arrowhead. By the way, man, there was some crazy Dolphins guy that took his shirt off at the game trying to be a hardo. I just heard he's now in intensive care. 15 people hospitalized from the games and dozens more treated. It was
Wow.
like, I always get a kick out of those idiots that do that. But like, as I said, that was like survival mode, man, for being at the game. So anyways, hopefully that guy bounces back. But bottom line is, it doesn't look like weather. I mean, listen, it's going to be cold. It'll be below zero. It's not going to be like, a game in September or October. But unlike, what was originally expected in the Bills-Pittsburgh game, unlike the Chiefs game where weather was a massive factor, and unlike what it would have been if they were playing a couple days ago, because Buffalo got another dump of 2 to 3 feet of snow. This is going to be a little bit more normal conditions. And to be honest, I think that's good for the Bills. Like, I mean, I think we saw what Mahomes has done it in so many different climates and has experience doing it. The Bills aren't necessarily, Pat, like this team that goes for extremes. I mean, there's an argument to be made the Buffalo Bills would be much better off playing in a dome in Buffalo, but that would not reflect the spirit of the city. And that's why they're still going for an open dome stadium. Oh, they might need to get a plan for shoveling the damn place, because now for twice in a week, they're calling fans to show up with shovels and make $20 to clear out the seats.
Yeah, I definitely, again, dome, that's a hot topic in Buffalo. Yeah, sure. It helps clear out, the stadium, and if you have the capabilities to close it. And yeah, you're right. I think especially last year, I think Buffalo's got a little more smash mouth to them this year, being able to run the ball. Offensive line's playing a lot better. But with that being said, yeah, I think a dome having the capability to shut that close and give your team a bit of an advantage is great. But the dummies who were saying, like, well, if they had a dome, this game doesn't get postponed. Folks, there was a travel ban in Erie. It was not the fact that it was going to be too snowy that they couldn't play the game. It's the fact that players, coaches, fans, officials could not physically get to the stadium. There was a travel ban. Let's not forget, this is the same city that just over a year ago lost 45 plus lives due to a snowstorm because people got stuck out on the highway in their cars and they were not able to get out. So again, let's think more than just football sometimes. Let's think of that. Again, the governor of New York was the one who made this decision. And again, did it really affect the game? I really don't think so. I think the Bills were going to win that game regardless. So no harm, no foul. Again, this week, we don't have to worry about that. The snow came during the week. The Sabres game ended up being postponed, but everything should be good to go here in Buffalo. Still going to be cold. I think it's going to feel like -10, but for the Chiefs, this will feel tropical. I tend to agree. I think the warmer this is, the more normal weather this is, it kind of plays into the hands of the Bills. But with that being said, man, and we'll get into it a little bit, home field advantage certainly helps. And I think that's what we're seeing with the line. This is as close as a coin flip game as you can get, in my personal opinion.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
actually surprised that the line is kind of sticking around where it has been. But that, whatever, we'll take it. It is what it is. I think this is a money line bet for most people, as opposed to worrying about a 2.5 point spread. Well, listen, we do have to get into the games. We'll finish off with that one, and obviously Dusty can pop in. But Pat, let's talk about this Texans-Ravens game. I mean, it's 9.5 right now. I love what the Texans did. It was so impressive, but they did it in a dome. They did it against Cleveland, and Joe Flacco. I mean, the Cinderella story. It was midnight, basically the minute that game kicked off. He threw the 2 picks. It wasn't close in the second half, but CJ Stroud was incredible against a Browns defense that, although it hadn't been as good on the road as they had been at home, had been pretty damn good all year long. There's some issues though with their with injuries. Like Nico Collins, they're just resting him. I think they just don't even want to give a chance of letting their number one receiver get dinged up. Robert Woods has been limited in practice all week long. We know that Tank Dell is out. They do have some real issues when it comes to the health of their receivers. And then there's Baltimore, who had the extra week of rest. They're sitting back, getting ready to go, knowing that they're a big favorite in this game. Harbaugh's going to have the extra week. Like, listen, we can't ignore the fact that Lamar Jackson's 1-3 in the playoffs, and Patrick Mahomes has more Super Bowl wins than Lamar has playoff wins. But I mean, he's likely going to be the MVP this year. He's been great all season long. A lot of me early on in the week, I'm thinking like, wow, we just saw how great CJ Stroud was in the Texans. You know, they're going to be able to hang with the Ravens. The Ravens have slaughtered some teams at home this year. Seahawks, I think the Lions lost by 32 there. And then we just saw what they did. Like my original lean to the Texans, I think has sort of, the shine has come off that as I've dug more into this matchup. Now, listen, 9.5 points is a lot. Could there be a backdoor cover? For sure. And like, do I feel great about either side? Not really. But to be honest, the more I break this thing down, look at what both teams are dealing with, look at the conditions it's going to be played in, I think I got to lean the Ravens. And I would love to see a great game and have the Texans be right there. But I've got a hard time going against Baltimore, despite Lamar's playoff record and despite how good Houston looked last week.
Yeah, this one I've flip-flopped like 4 or 5 times. The you mentioned the Lamar thing though. That's a concern for me. That's a real concern for me. Lamar Jackson is 1-8 against the spread as favorites of 7.5 or more points, and is 0-2 straight up and against the spread in a divisional round as a favorite. That is not good. That is not good. The only time he did cover the 7.5 over that stretch was when they played the Texans in week 1. But I think we can all agree that this Texans team is a lot different than what we saw in week 1. Again, another thing that leans Texans, like you bring up a lot of great points, but the other thing that kind of makes me want to lean Texans a little bit more is when you think of the Ravens, you think of just the ability for them to run the ball with the weather that we're expecting in Baltimore. Although the bulk of the snow is supposed to be coming down tonight and tomorrow morning, I believe. So it obviously will affect the game, but maybe not quite as much as we thought initially. The run game. The fact that, Lamar can run the ball, the fact that we got a great run game. The Texans are great. The defense is great against the run. They're 6th in defensive EPA and 1st in defensive success rate per play. So do I think that the matchup certainly leans more to the Ravens? The fact that they are the team, when you look at them on paper, you look at what they've done this year, the fact you could even take the trends that I gave you with Lamar and say, well, it's time he bucks the trends. This is him getting over the hump. He needs this win. Yes, totally. But at the end of the day, winning double digits in a divisional game against a really good Texans team is going to be tough. I don't feel passionate about either side, but the more I talk about it, I just don't know if I trust Lamar to win in a blowout. I don't know if I do, and I think the Texans, I doubted them last week against the Browns, and I know the Ravens are a way better team than the Browns, but they proved us wrong. So I think I got to go Texans here. I don't feel great about it, though.
I'm basically right there with you. Like that, I don't feel great about it. I think, and to be honest, I mean, I probably won't. Well, I'll bet this game just a small amount, just to back what I've got on the, just on the show. But I mean, I look at this, like, let's look at Houston's receiving from last week. Nico Collins, absolute stud, 6 catches for 96 yards. Brevin Jordan had that one massive touchdown run. I believe the Canadian John Mechie actually got into it.
Yep.
Now, he's been on the list. Dalton Schultz had 1. Xavier Hutchinson had 2. Robert Woods, who they hope to play, was going to have 1. Noah Brown, who is basically the number 2 guy, he's out. He's not. They've ruled him out already. And then on the defensive side of the ball, which is going to be, I mean, they've got their hands full with that Ravens offense. Jerry Hughes, Rankins, Will Anderson Jr., Blake Cashman, Malik Collins, Jonathan Greenard, Denzel Perryman, all on the injury list. Everyone limited practice. Yeah. Hughes did not practice at all and hasn't practiced all this week. I mean, Harbaugh's had this entire week to really prepare for it. I think I'm going to lay the 9.5 as much as I rarely do it. It's a huge number. I don't feel good about it, but we'll lay that. And to be honest, I'll hopefully, I might really dive into your tease if we're teasing the Ravens down to something like 2.5. The other 9.5 point game is the Packers and the 49ers. And, you know, I told you, Pat, last week coming out, as soon as the lines were dropped, I made one bet. I probably should have bet the Chiefs because the number came down the way that it did. But I bet the Packers at plus 7.5. I thought that they'd be able to hang with Dallas. I'm not a non-believer in Dallas, especially come playoff time. I could not have possibly imagined, though, how incredible Jordan Love would look. I had to laugh if you heard Kyle Shanahan talk about when they started preparing for the Packers. So about midway through the second quarter, because they knew that it was pretty much done. But again, I do worry, like I lean Packers, and I do worry that are we forgetting about Shanahan's complete dominance of Matt LaFleur so far in their careers? What the Niners have done to the Packers in similar games with Aaron Rodgers there. Jordan Love looked like an all-pro, experienced stud veteran quarterback. He was that good against Dallas. And Dallas's defense up until that point had been really good all year. So I am leaning Packers in this one to make it close. I mean, even if they're out of it, I could see, I'd feel a lot better about the Packers coming in and getting in on the back door, I think, than the Texans in that scenario. But there is part of me that thinks that we're going to see the Niners that we've seen for the majority of the season. And here's the other thing. The Packers are not great or haven't been great stopping the run. And it could be a heavy dose of CMC all day, all night. But tell you what, going into this game, there's a ton of pressure on Brock Purdy. We saw him melt on Christmas night against a good Ravens team. So I think I'm going to take the Packers plus 9.5. Again, there was no way I was taking both favorites here. Originally, I was leaning both underdogs. I've sort of soured a little bit on the Texans, but I do feel like Jordan Love, the way that he's playing almost alone, and they're healthy. They've got their guys back. They're looking better. Aaron Jones was running the ball well, although that's easier said than done against the Niners. I'm gun to my head to make a pick. I think I'm going to take the points with the Packers. What about you?
Again, I don't feel great about this, but I think I lean the other side. I think I feel more confident in the 49ers and their capability to win this game and win by double digits. Of their 12 wins this year, 11 of them were by double digits. That's kind of their MO. They would just blow teams out. And I get it. I think Jordan Love proved to everyone that he is a franchise quarterback. He is going to do some special things with the Packers. I think, again, they get lucky. They go from Favre to Rodgers, now to Love. I'm very jealous of them. But with that being said, I don't think he'll have his way like he did against that Cowboys defense. San Fran ranks 6th in the league for yards per pass attempt allowed. And you already mentioned the run defense. I think they'll be able to really, hold that down as well. On the flip side, the Packers' run defense is near the bottom, and I think Christian McCaffrey could have an absolute heyday, which leads me to one of my favorite props for the entire weekend. McCaffrey over 92.5, and whoa.
Horrible pick.
Who it is.
Horrible pick. Over 92.5. My goodness. Sorry, boys. Meeting ran. It was a good meeting. It was running a little long, so my bad. What did I miss? Bring me up to speed.
Well, we've missed. He's taking over McCaffrey yards. We have made our picks.
Okay.
For the Texans-Ravens game.
All right.
Patty's taking the Texans. I am taking the Ravens.
You are taking the Ravens. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, we've gone through it. We don't need to reset.
Yeah.
I don't feel great about it. I won't be making a big single play on this, but I think that this spot is I don't know, maybe back to reality a little bit for the Texans, and the Ravens need this, and they need a big time performance to get ready, presumably for either Kansas City or Buffalo. So we're on the opposite sides, and then we flip-flopped on this game as well. I'm taking the Packers plus 9.5, and Pat was just laying out that he thinks if one of the teams kind of runs away with it, it's the Texans. So absolutely no consensus, as I expected. These games with these big lines are really, really tough to pick. You want to quickly get into your thoughts on these two games, and then we can get into Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. These big lines are very interesting. They're still both sitting at 9.5, right? I looked at them this morning on Nielson show. Okay, yeah. I'm going to ride with Patty on the Texans at plus 9.5. I think I'm done doubting C.J. Stroud from a 10-point deficit perspective. I think I got to ride with C.J. Stroud at this time. It was interesting. You're monitoring the status of Mark Andrews throughout the week. He's out. That might have changed things a little bit for me. But, yeah, I'm going to stick with C.J. Stroud plus 9.5 there with the Houston Texans. I mean, they have nothing.
Is he out? I'm looking right now, and he's a full participant in practice the last 2 days, and they have him listed as questionable right now.
I thought he was listed as out this morning.
I thought I just saw that he was out.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just looking at the Texans injury report, and they've got both of the teams going on right now, so they probably haven't updated it yet. My concern with the Texans is all their injuries on the defensive side of the football. Like, I just went down the laundry list of guys that have been limited or haven't practiced this week, and it's a lot. And, I mean, this Baltimore team has absolutely smashed teams at home this year. The Lions would know, Dusty. I don't want to bring that up.
Yeah, I know. Don't tell me about that one. That was a tough look.
32 in that game.
Yeah, you're right. So, yeah, quickly, I don't want to interrupt here, but Texans plus 9.5. The Packers, I think the Packers Niners game is my toughest call of the week, because the Packers offense has been outstanding for the entire second half of the season. So is that good enough to remotely keep pace with the Niners for 3 quarters and stay within striking distance of the 9.5? I've been thinking all week I was going to ride with the Packers on this one, so I guess I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay on the Packers. I'm going to take both dogs. Huss, when you got on Wednesday, I think I told you, man, I'm really liking these dogs right now. Patty, when you were on with me Monday, I said, man, I like these 9.5 on these two teams right now. So I'm not going to go away from that. I'm going to stick with both of the teams plus 9.5 dogs for those first 2 games.
It's tough, and as I said, I was the same way over the Texans. I'm just kind of dug in. I'm really nervous about their defense. And I'm thinking about how much, like Baltimore, they need a big game to put themselves. I mean, Lamar, I brought this up before, but Dusty, Lamar's 1-3 in the playoffs. He has not been great. And I think that they're going to do everything they can to, not make this a close game, give them a ton of confidence going into a home game against either Kansas City or Buffalo. All right, let's go. The Lions at home. The roar has been restored. Heard some guys, some Rams players talking about that was the loudest building that they have ever been in their life. I don't think that's going to change at all this week. But they got to cover 6.5 points against a Bucs team that looked pretty good. I was all over the Bucs early on. I think I'm probably still leaning that way, but I'm way less confident in this, thinking more and more about the momentum that Detroit has, what they're bringing to the table, and the fact that was Baker and the Bucs that great,
Or were the Eagles just awful?
The Eagles just quit.
Yeah.
And they couldn't wait to finish up that game. There is the possibility of, a backdoor cover. I think the Lions win this game, though. Like, I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about a Lions 49ers NFC Championship game. But I mean, you look at, I know you're just
that's just so amazing. I don't even care if we get stopped by 50. Just to be in the championship game would be nuts.
Well, Patty, why don't we roll through and then we'll get the Lions representative to drop their pick. Where are you at on this game?
Again, I think this one's a tough one. I think the Lions win, but I think the Bucks stay close here. I think the Bucks cover the number, and from everything that we saw from Baker Mayfield, man, the guy's a gamer. He's an absolute gamer, and I think that he takes his shots. I think he could have even had better numbers than he did the last game if Mike Evans doesn't drop. And I know that's a very touchy subject in this group right now. But I think the passing game's I think they'll be able to keep pace. I love my best bet of the weekend is the over 49. I think both teams are really going to just absolutely pour it on. The Lions, though, they've struggled in the air. Allowing 352 passing yards per game over the last 4, while Mayfield has put up plus 280 in 4 of his last 5 games. A prop that I love. I can't believe we're getting plus money on it. Baker over 1.5 passing TDs. In 4 straight games, the Lions have given up 2 passing touchdowns or more, and Baker has thrown for 2 or more in 5 of his last 6 games. So I think my official play will for sure go with the Bucks. I think the Lions will eventually win, though. And but my best bet over 49, Baker over 1.5 passing TDs.
Dusty, how are you feeling?
I feel like my nerves as a Lions fan are pushing me towards the Bucks plus 6.5. But I just can't do it. Detroit Lions at home, minus the 6.5. They are better than the Bucks in every single aspect of the game except their pass defense. The Bucks don't run the ball very well, and the Lions have an incredible run defense. So the Bucks are going to have to rely on Baker Mayfield, and then I think the Lions can get after him a little bit. And I know he was great against the Eagles, but boys, the Eagles were arguably like the worst team in the league over the last what do you call it, like 6 weeks of the season. They were absolutely horrendous. So And just going and trying to blitz Jalen Hurts the whole time over and over and over again last week, Jared Goff and the offensive scheme of the Detroit Lions will find ways around that. Like, I'm not overly concerned about that. I thought the Rams were an excellent football team. I don't know if I necessarily view the Bucks the same way. And Baker might have looked great against the Eagles. And maybe it's because he got a little bit healthier. But the 2 previous games, man, Baker Mayfield looked like garbage to wrap up the regular season. They scored 1 touchdown in 2 games. So it makes me think that the Eagles were just so bad that the Bucks sort of just had their way with them. So Detroit's at home. They've been excellent at home this year. I'm going to take Detroit minus the 6.5. I'm just going to roll with the indoor Cats at home against Baker Mayfield and the Bucks.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about Baker is those last games that Saints game at home, Saints have a pretty good defense. They were playing for their lives. Bucks weren't ready. The last game was a slog. A 9-0 win. But the 4 games before that, 21, 29, 34, and 30 points on the board. And I still think the game to me that kind of made me a believer in Baker and the Bucks was that game in Green Bay when Baker had a 158.3 perfect quarterback rating and had maybe the game of his life. I will say this, though. Baker is not 100% right now.
No, he's not. You could tell.
You could tell he's feeling it.
Which is why it was very impressive still what he did. But what did the Lions do? For
sure.
They bang.
Dude,
right? Like, that could be trouble.
Big time. They're going to make them pay. So I'm going to stay with the Bucks plus 6.5, but I do think the Lions win. And Pat, I'm fully in on a 7-point tease of those 3 favorites: Niners, Ravens. So those teams minus 2.5 and Lions to win.
Just to win, yeah.
I don't know what. don't know what that would be, but I'm not sure. Well, and you know what? You could probably tease the Chiefs. There's an argument to be made as we get into this one. You could probably tease the Chiefs and the Bills both ways, because the chances of this game being a blowout or a runaway for either team, I think, is absolutely minuscule. Now, what do they always say? Don't tease through 0 or whatever. I don't know. If you wanted to think about that, we can. But as far as the game goes, guess what, guys? It's January, and it's Mahomes time. There is so much pressure on Josh Allen and the Bills. And rightfully so. They've had a nice comeback season. They've won their last 5 games. Well, 6 games now when you include what they where they were. But even through those games and last week, like Pittsburgh, Mason Rudolph almost came back and got it done. And this isn't Skyler.
No, not really. Not really.
Well,
not really.
I mean, it was like I declared that game over at 21-0. And all of a sudden, as we were driving back from KC, we're like, wait a second, this is a 1-score game here in the fourth quarter. Like, if Minka Fitzpatrick makes that tackle. Well, anyways, we don't need to relitigate the entire game like that. But I mean, they beat the Chargers by 2. They beat the Patriots by 6. Like, this hasn't been a team that, like, even when they've been winning, much like the Chiefs, I mean, you can pick in a few cracks in the armor. To me, what I saw last week was a defense that is the best of the Patrick Mahomes era, that keeps them in games. The Chiefs right now basically need to score. Like, they're holding teams to 21 points or less. Can they do that against the Bills? We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit more. But, man, Mahomes looked good. Isaiah Pacheco did not play in that first game. He is going to be a big, big part of their attack. The question is, can they handle Josh Allen, especially with running the football? Because I think passing, it is going to be a challenge. I mean, ask Tyreek Hill how L'Jarius Sneed and McDuffie played last weekend. He tweeted himself, "They blew my ass straight to Cancun." So, listen, a lot of this is on history, but there's one guy that's done it over and over and over again. He's number 15 in red. I love the Chiefs to win this game. And again, consider the source. But I've been saying that for a number of years, and he always comes through in the playoffs under the biggest stage and the brightest lights. And if I'm a Bills fan, I'm excited, but I'm also nervous because the Grim Reaper is on a plane from KC to Buffalo right now.
Okay, let me just step in here. That's a Kansas City side of this thing, as per expected from us. Patty, the Bills fan, I don't know if you're like Rick, he's always a little nervous about the Buffalo Bills. Haas made a good point. There's a ton of pressure on Josh Allen here, man. You finally got him at home. You got to deliver. Where do you come out on this bad boy?
Haas kind of said off the top or at the bottom there when he was saying, Bills fans should be excited. And I think I am excited. I'm excited for the opportunity. The 13 seconds game, Josh Allen did absolutely everything he could to allow his team to win that game. The defense and Sean McDermott let him down. But from that moment on, Brandon Beane, the GM of the Buffalo Bills, Terry Pegula, the owner, and Sean McDermott said, our focus now is to do so well in the postseason or the regular season that the next time we play these guys, we play them at home. And this is the opportunity. This is what you've done. You've built your team to beat the Chiefs. You've done it in the regular season. You've gone to Arrowhead and do it. Now you have an opportunity to do it at home. Josh Allen, I'm not worried. I know he's going to do everything he can to win. The offense, I think they are going to be able to score enough points to at least keep pace with Patrick Mahomes. The thing that does scare me is the amount of injuries that continue to mount on this defense. They've had to deal with it all year long, so it's not something that should be new or something that they're not used to. But I'm just curious if it's the levee is broken. Just there are far too many injuries now to too many notable players that this defense that was pretty much hung together by paper mache. Can they sustain this, and can they go up against one of the best clutch performers the game of football has ever seen? I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm ready for the challenge. I know one thing: this thing's probably coming down to the wire, and I think it's gonna be a game-winning touchdown drive or a game-winning field goal. This thing's gonna be close.
Patrick Mahomes, I think, is 8-1-1 against the spread as a dog. This would fit that bill.
That too.
I think it's going to be close. I'm going to side with the Chiefs on this one, and add to it though that they played against a Dolphins team and the defense was ravaged by injuries. They're playing against a Bills team that has a defense ravaged by injuries. So I can't even read too much into the Chiefs' success right now because they're not playing any good defenses.
Can you read anything into their success over the fact that Patrick Mahomes is going to pass Aaron Rodgers, Troy Aikman, Ben Roethlisberger in playoff wins if he gets this one? Like, they've played some pretty good defenses in the past, and guess what? They've got it done.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm on the Chiefs. I just don't know how you can go against the Chiefs with the history in this matchup. So I will go with the Chiefs. I'll probably put them on the money line. But I cannot wait for this football game. Like, it's going to be a hell of a week, and we have a finish that's just set up for the ages here. I will say I do want to see the Bills win this football game, though. Like, I want to see Josh Allen finally have his moment. And I hope he does because he's a phenomenal talent. But I think from a betting perspective, I just got to be on the Chiefs here. Sorry, Patty.
I get it. I get it.
I get it.
Here's the Bills injury report. Gabe Davis is out. Cornerback Christian Benford knee. Linebacker Braylon Spector. Taylor Rapp calf. All those guys are out. Other guys on their injury report: linebacker Terrell Bernard, cornerback Taron Johnson, Rasul Douglas, Tyrell Dodson will either be practiced today or will be held out of practice and be game time decisions. Bernard hasn't played has been able to practice since Wednesday or Thursday, but has a chance at this point to play, according to McDermott. And they're going to be playing this afternoon with a full injury report to be updated after that. That is not listen, as much as the Chiefs offense this year has been underwhelming for Chiefs standards, there's no doubt about it. I think we saw last week that, Mahomes is going to be able to get his. And to me, the biggest difference from the game that they played earlier, outside of that idiot Kadarius Toney, is Pacheco. And, I think I said this to you last week. There were some pretty good, some interesting playoff options, for top passer, top rusher. And I actually got in on Pacheco to be the leading rusher for the playoffs. I mean, again, it's sort of a Chiefs bet. Like, can the Chiefs win? Can they go to it? But if they go to the Super Bowl, they're playing this extra game. He obviously had a great start right now, and he'll be a big focal point of that offense. Travis Kelce's numbers, I'm just going to pull this up right now. I think I saw in the chat some guys already looking at number of receptions. I think the Kelce number is over 5.5. That's at -164. So that is, it's a big number to swallow. I don't mind Justin Watson over 1.5 receptions. I think he didn't do very much last week. I think he gets involved. And to be honest, I think more of the guys that disappointed in the past are going to need to be leaned on, because that the Bills are going to be focusing on Rashee Rice, who's now their legit number one receiver of their wide receivers. I mean, Rice and Kelce, they're going to need somebody else to step up and do something. Watson, I think, is probably the most reliable of the other guys that Mahomes has to throw to, and he'll get some looks as well.
Hush, you got to go to Winnipeg Sports Talks coming up.
Oh man,
Yeah, you gotta go. I'm set up in a one shot, so Patty, I'll let you go too. I'll hit some exclusives here before we wrap. I can't wait to go back and listen to the first half of the show, though. Sorry, I took a little while getting in there, boys, but
no problem. Well, we tried to hold it off until the end. I waited for my WWE style promo until you were here, and we really got into the game.
Well, you nailed it, buddy. I'll say to both of you guys. I mean, we know the Lions are gonna win, right? So the best of luck to both of you in advancing to the third round of the NFL playoffs and joining the Lions, who will await the Niners in the NFC Championship game. So,
oh my God, what's the Bucs money line? 35.
Hey, you gotta believe in your guys, right? You gotta believe in your guys. All right, boys, we'll talk to you later.
You do. May the best teams win, boys. Take it easy. And Pat, I'm looking forward to that tease. If you can get it up before later on in WST, I'll make sure we get that out to the people because I'm going to be all over that.
100%, fellas.
There you go. That's Huss and Patty. Bills versus Chiefs. You know, if you've been following the Lock Shop, you know how this is going to work. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait till Monday when we break down these games. Like I said, I'll hit some. Man, do we have exclusives up? Let me see here. Might not be any exclusives up right now. That's yeah, we got exclusives. Of course, we got exclusives. Oh, we got off the crossbar parlay. What's this one? Oh, that's a lacrosse parlay. No NHL or anything exclusives up just yet. 4 games in the NHL tonight. Quickly on this, we got Oil Stream coming up here anyway. Hurricanes minus 209 at home against the Wings. The Devils minus 150 against the Blue Jackets. Panthers minus 196 at home against the Wild, and the New York Islanders minus 233 on the road tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. Association tonight. Hornets minus 169 at home. They are a 4-point home favorite against the Spurs. The Sixers on the road, 5-point favorites against the Magic. Celtics, 7-point favorites at home against the Nugs. Miami Heat, 7 points at home against the Hawks. The Pelicans, 2.5 at home against the Suns. The Pacers, minus 5 against the Trailblazers. And the Lakers, minus 7 at home against the Nets. If you move that down to minus 5.5, you can get it minus 133, and I think I like that. All right, the Oil Stream is coming up here at Edmonton Sports Talk. Thank you very much for watching the Lock Shop. It's going to be a fun weekend in the National Football League. We certainly know about that. Can't wait to break those games down on Monday right here on the Lock Shop. Thank you for joining us today. Good luck tonight and this weekend, and we will talk to you on Monday.